Good morning, everyone. I'm Bill Plunkett, Director of School Counseling, and welcome to our senior parent school counseling presentation. Some of you have heard that before, but for others, I'm sure it's like, oh my gosh, how do we get here? Probably for everybody, it's how do we get here? Last night I was at the open house for my oldest, who's off to intermediate school in the fall. I get it, I've been in these shoes, and many of us have here, and we're excited to get going on things and provide for you what we feel is some essential information about the next steps in the process, tips for accomplishing everything that needs to get done, and hopefully some perspective on maintaining a healthy, balanced approach to what should be a really wonderful time with all of our children. Our purpose and what we hope that you'll leave with today is an understanding of the real nuts and bolts of the college application process. Along with that, a feeling of confidence that your students are in wonderful hands and really capable folks here in the counseling department, and an sense of optimism that in spite of some crazy times over the past couple of years, and certainly what you may have heard in regards to competitiveness of college admissions, we're going to hang on tight and hold to our trust that things are going to work out. Our focus today will be on the college application process. That said, if your child is considering something other than a four-year college, that's awesome. Please do connect with their counselor as soon as you can so that we can make sure to help with their planning with whatever they're thinking about pursuing. Really, not everyone goes off to a four-year college after Staples, and many who do come home, whether it's a gap year, PG year, military, work, trade, technical school, community college. There are a lot of other alternatives out there that are completely viable and worth considering for many students, so let us help. As counselors, we really do care about our students and are committed to making sure that each and every senior has the best possible experience while they're here at Staples and as they think about their life or after it, and that you're armed with the information that you need to support them every step of the way. Before we get on to the rest of the presentation, I'm first going to bring up somebody who may be new to you or a familiar face from a few years back, but isn't so new to us, Michael Lawrence. We're so excited to have back here as an assistant principal. This is actually his third tour of duty at Staples, so he knows us well. He started as a counselor here, and I can think of no better human being on this planet to be here to make sure that your kids are able to make it to the finish line. So bring in Micah for a minute.
Thanks, Bill. Hi, my name is Michael Lawrence. I'm one of the assistant principals, and I actually oversee all the seniors, which is fantastic. Many of the students you've had, I actually had when we were combined at Bedford and Coleytown, if you can remember that craziness. I just can't tell you enough, having been a counselor here at Staples High School and working with the counselor department, again, you have some of the best counselors you will find anywhere, bar none, period. And just for a show, how many of you, this is the first time you've gone through this process? Wow. Okay, how many of you, is this the fourth time you've gone through the process? Wow. All right. See, I knew this is hard. I knew you had 4. Do we have any octomons? Anyone with 4? 8? 8? No 8? All right. Well, when you think of the amount of years that this counseling department has been there, whether it's 22 years plus or just coming out of school and bringing new, fresh ideas, the amount of knowledge, depth, and breadth that you have, at your fingertips is absolutely amazing and the best you will get, period. So I just wanted to say a simple hello. I'm here if you need me. My door is always open. You have the best resources you can possibly find anywhere. And with that, we will forward it to the senior internship program. This is, back in the day, I was here before they had senior internship program. And it is one of the best real-world experiences and privileges, quite honestly, that your kids are going to be able to make connections with outside of school. And it's just an amazing program, and I'm so glad we have it. And we have 2 of the most organized, type A, amazing human beings I've ever seen in my life, Mrs. Howard and Mrs. Goldschmidt.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Micah. I'm Michelle Howard. This is Lauren Goldshore. We are the proud senior internship coordinators. We just want to talk to you a little bit about how the program rolls out. I, too, have a senior this year, so I'm anxious to get to the counselor presentation, which is on hand. So we're going to be brief. There is a slide behind us that you can follow through. This is a message we share with your students about the program. There's also some other information in your handout, a lot more details, kind of rules and requirements, and the mission statement as well. But the internship program, although they launch in May, it starts now. In the fall, we meet with the students. We ask them to sign up for 10-minute meetings with us during their free or lunch. We can't get them out of class. We don't have that authority. But this gives us a chance to meet with them, learn about them as individuals, hear about their ideas and hopes and plans for the spring. And it's okay if they don't have any idea what they want to do. We still ask them to meet with us. Because we gauge their interests as individuals as well as a class, and that helps us curate a robust list of opportunities for them that they'll get to select from in the spring. So please encourage your students to set up a time to meet with us, because we do that now, September, October, November, and simultaneously we reach out to our sites. So we'll ask sites that have been with the program since its inception over 15 years ago to come back, be a part of it again, as well as reach out to new sites. So we really have that great list for your students to view. There are two ways to choose your internships. It's like two paths. You can choose from our list of opportunities that we have available to the students, about 300 plus companies each year, or students can find a site on their own. About a quarter of the class takes advantage of that each year. The process is really the same. We ask them to come meet with us. Sometimes kids come and say, I'm thinking about reaching out to this site, and we'll say, hold up, that site's typically on our list. You can choose it come December, or we'll say, hey, we've never had that site on our list. Go for it. Let us know how we can help, and we give them some information about how to reach out. There are a couple of rules for that one, to find their own host site. They cannot work directly with a parent. They cannot work where a parent is employed, and they cannot intern where they've been previously employed or ever paid. Even if it was way back in 7th grade, they did something and got paid for it, they cannot intern there. So it's really an opportunity to have a new experience. Then December hits, and December is a really exciting time in the internship office. It's when our list goes live and everybody's waiting for it, so it's exciting. So those students who haven't chosen found a site on their own, pick from our list, and they get a month to do that. And our main message in that, and you can share that with your students as well, is make thoughtful decisions you are excited about. It can be anything from animal care to medicine to working on a farm, and it doesn't have to be in the same genre. They should pick things they're excited about, and not the things that their friend at the cafeteria table next to them want to do as well. So it's really better if they choose things that unique to them and personal to them versus just what their friends want to do. And they get that time December to January. And then February hits, and February, March, April is our placement matching interview time. That's where patience really needs to settle in. Everybody who has earned this privilege of going on an internship, and is an earned privilege, will go on an internship. It just takes time for us to do the matching and interviews and sites to get back to us, and some people are on vacation and things like that. But it all does work out. In April, we join together in the auditorium as a class, and we really give that message about the meaningfulness of the program, about how we want them to be Staples ambassadors. This school community connection is terrific, but it really depends on the preceding class each year, how well the class before you did. So, be up for that challenge, represent the school well, show up, do the work, be flexible. It might not be exactly what you thought. It might not be exactly what was in the 3 little sentences in the description when you chose it in December, but it is going to be a incredible experience. You're going to learn, future reference, something on your resume, even perhaps a future job. So we'd love for you to share that with them as well. And then, crazy as it seems, May 20th is when they launch. That will be here before we know it, which makes me a little anxious, but it's happening, and we're really excited. It's an incredible program that is offered here at Staples. We are proud to be a part of it, and Lauren's going to share how you could be a part of it as well. Thank you.
Hi. So just to piggyback a little bit on what Michelle said about our client list, our host list, our program relies on host sites to be successful. We have about 300 sites right now. We're always looking for new sites to join. Again, all local and across all industries. Something that I found last year that's kind of a benefit to our local companies is that if the intern and the host have a great experience, it could last through the summer. So we had a number of students who stayed on through the summer with their host sites to help out and kind of continue till they left for school. So if you have a business that you'd like to discuss with us and talk about joining our list, you can reach out to us via email. The email's on one of the handouts you have. And if you know of anybody that could be looking to host one of our students this spring, you can share our information with them. And any questions regarding this or the program itself, you can find us in the Pathways office here and via email. And we look forward to working with you.
It's an absolutely amazing program that we're so grateful for. I think it's definitely something that a lot of students look back on as one of the favorite parts of senior year, and getting towards the end, they're ready to get out there and do something. So certainly couldn't speak more highly of the program, and excited about kids being able to give it a go this year. So just by way of an update, last Friday, September 1st, we sent out an email that you should have received. It was very comprehensive and a lot of information in there outlining the post-high school process here at Staples. You should have been sent a second email that contained an unofficial copy of your child's transcript with grades through the end of junior year and their courses listed for senior year. We've done multiple checks, but if you notice anything that seems off, make sure that either you or they let their counselor know at some point by the end of next week before we upload everything into SCORE to be sent out. From here on out, there really shouldn't be any schedule changes. Students are committed to the courses that they've selected, and we provided a significant amount of time to address any issues that could have come up. If they need to lighten their load by dropping down in a course to a different level, or considering dropping a class altogether, they have a little bit of time to do that before the deadline, but should be in touch with their teacher and their counselor as soon as possible about it. If they're enrolled in a class that's eligible for UConn ECE credit, you would have received another email from me with information, and please make sure that they return the form that was enclosed in that email by next Friday, and then you'll be looking out for another message when you can actually go in and register for the ECE credit with UConn in a couple weeks. Next week, you'll receive in the mail, not as an email, a letter that counselors fill out and includes an updated status of your child's progress towards graduation and meeting all the requirements for Staples High School. We send this to all seniors and their families, so don't be alarmed if you're getting this, that there's a problem. Just to make sure that we're all on the same page about what's required from here on out and that there are no surprises. But rest assured, we've checked to make sure that any classes that they need for graduation are included in their schedule, and really up to them at this point to take care of business from there. Starting yesterday and then over the next couple of weeks, counselors are meeting with seniors in connections groups. They're receiving some of the same procedural information that you'll get today. It's a difficult sort of balance to strike, but we're really trying to provide them with the tools and information that they need and also not overwhelm them because it is a lot. Really, I think just trying to assure them that we're here and point out the resources that are available to them and where they can look and be referred to for information, answering any questions that they have. One of the major points that we're really trying to drive home and that you can reinforce this weekend as you're talking with them, if they haven't already checked in with their counselor since the start of the school year, that'd be a good thing to do. So scheduling an appointment with us for some time in the next couple of weeks just to fill us in on kind of where they are in the process, and then we can take it from there as far as what the next steps might look like. In most cases, at this point in the fall of senior year, we're meeting with students individually on our own in our offices, and then in touch with parents on the side if necessary. But if it's helpful to meet all together, we can certainly set that up. Typically students are kind of there and being able to work with us independently, and we'd like them to take as much ownership in the process, but certainly available if you have questions along the way. Believe me, we know the emotions that everything raises here, in particular amidst uncertainties in the world going on, and what you may hear swirling. Work with us in doing what we all can to help our students and all of us maintain a sane, sensible approach in support of their well-being, which might include, but isn't just about where they're going to be going to school next year. It's about who they are and who they're becoming as healthy, thriving individuals. So just a few words about the class of 2023 at Staples that just graduated, just as context and sort of a preview of what might be ahead. The class ended up, by and large, ending up pretty similar to most years in terms of their outcomes. And so shortly you'll be able to access updated statistics for a given college and SCORE as we've gotten everything compiled from that class, including any shifts that might have occurred over the summer. I'll also do a full presentation to the Board of Education in November and go into a lot more detail if a deeper dive into the data is something that you think might be helpful for you. So for the class, the students applied to 406 different colleges. They've gone on to attend 173 different institutions. There are always a lot, and a number that seems higher than you might expect, but 173 is actually the highest number of different institutions that they've gone on to attend since we've been tracking that number, which is pretty cool. Something we're really proud of, and I think reflects the diversity of our students. There are also a lot of other students who are pursuing other opportunities beyond college that they're going to find fulfilling as well. Admittedly, there is truth to the notion of lower acceptance rates at many selected colleges. That's because with pretty much the same number of seats available, students are applying often unnecessarily to that many more colleges. It's nationwide, and we've seen it here. At Staples, the average number of applications filed has increased steadily each year, up to 9.18 applications per student last year. But still, in spite of what you meet here, we have to keep reminding ourselves that our kids are ending up in a really good place. If you look at the overall acceptance rate for Staples in the class of 2023, so all of the acceptances out of all of the applications filed, the percentage of acceptances was actually up a tick from 2022. Out of a class of 430 or so, 107 Staples students were accepted to all the colleges that they applied to. 154 were accepted to at least 75% of the colleges that they applied to. 275 students were accepted to at least half of the colleges they applied to. Many of our students had realistic, balanced lists and fared really well. When we evaluated the lists of those who were accepted to fewer schools, we consistently found that they were applying to reach after reach. That's not what we want for them, and there are hard choices that you can make now as a family to set up for success. Things around building a realistic, balanced list that will bring plenty of good news and in the end have a very positive impact on them. Bottom line though, when we surveyed them at the end of the year, 91% of seniors reported being very satisfied or satisfied with their post-high school plan, right there with what we typically see each year, and evidence to maintain trust in the process. So enough for me. I'm going to turn it over to several of our counselors that you can hear from about various aspects of the process to come. Before I do that, just want to quickly introduce the other counselors who are not presenting this morning. They're presenting to the 9th grade parents on Tuesday, just starting their Staples journey here, kind of spread around here. So Sarah McGillnick, Christina Banks, Maddie Sokolowski, Deb Slocum, Vicky Capozzi. Everybody else? I think everybody's okay. As well as our College and Career Center coordinator. I think she's trying to hide behind those glass doors, but she won't be able to for long. Sandra Ziegler is our College and Career Center coordinator. If they don't already, your kids are going to start to get to know her because over the next few months, we're going to bring in 175 or so college representatives to visit Staples, and she's responsible for all that, an amazing resource for them. They have questions about the process. Fran Gerasi, our department secretary, who amazingly keeps us running, and someone who's instrumental in the process, Susan Fugit, who is our registrar. She is responsible for sending what will probably end up being about 5,000 transcripts and 15,000 recommendation letters when all is said and done. So if there's anyone who deserves a hand and a patience, even more so than a hand, patience, when inevitably a college is going to reach out to you and say, we're missing this piece of the application that we sent 2 weeks ago that it's just going to take time for them to process, we're going to take a deep breath and trust that she is incredibly on top of it, and it all gets there on the time frame that they need to do. So we work closely together as a team. It's a really remarkable group of individuals that I'm proud of, especially amidst an evolving, complex process. A couple other quick notes. We are filming today's program. If you have friends who are missing it or just want to go back to watch it again, we'll send an email out with a link to the recording. Thanks to our former media teacher, Jim Honeycutt, who's here and does a lot of our events. You should receive the handout at the door. There's a lot of links contained in that. We'll send a link to that handout when we send out the recording. So thank you again for joining us. We really do care about your kids and want to do whatever we can to help them. It means a lot to us that you're here, and hope you find the morning to be helpful.
Good morning. I'm Kim Curran. So one of the first and most important things that students should be doing right now, is this okay? Is updating their My Colleges list in SCORE. Developing a realistic and balanced list is a crucial step in the college admissions process, and it allows us to help guide students based on fit and admission selectivity. Just to reiterate also what Mr. Plunkett said, on average our students apply to 8 to 10 colleges, and the data shows that when a list is well thought out and sensible, many are accepted to most, if not all, of their schools. Our goal is to ensure that all students have a balanced list consisting of target schools and at least 2 likely schools that the student is willing to attend. SCORE will alert a student when a college that is in there is either following or applying to list will be visiting the college and the Career Center. We have over 150 representatives that come to Staples to give information sessions. A list of those schools that are visiting can also be found in our SHS counseling newsletter. An email was sent on September 5th with details about these visits. There's a few different application timelines to consider. Many students at Staples apply either early decision, early action, or rolling admissions, which means they have at least one application out by November 1st or 15th. And that means that it's just more important to stay on top of deadlines and be careful with time management. A regular decision deadline is usually in January or February, so considerable amount of time for that. Early decision is a binding agreement between the college and the student. It should be carefully planned and realistic. Too often we see students apply ED to a school that's not a target school, and they lose their opportunity to gain an advantage that an early decision application can give them. There's different admissions decisions. There's accepted or denied. Deferred means that the college is waiting to make a decision based on other applicants. Waitlisted means there is an acceptance but not a spot for the student, and they should enroll elsewhere while waiting. Conditional acceptance means maybe an acceptance to another campus for a semester or a similar scenario to that. Please update SCORE or let your counselor know when your child hears back from school so that we can update it. Okay, so this is a snapshot of the different parts of an application, which we'll go into further detail about in this presentation. But as you can see, there's multiple moving parts. It may seem a little overwhelming, but I promise you we have perfected this process over the years. We are responsible for sending certain materials like the transcript and our letter. The teacher is sending their recommendation letter, and your student is sending their part. So it is some moving pieces, but I promise you it all works out, and we are here to help them manage that process. Again, just means it's important to be on top of their deadlines and their time management skills, because applying to college is one more thing for them to do on top of their schoolwork. So we are here to help them with that process. Thanks.
Good morning. My name is PJ Washenko, and I'm going to talk to you about the process that we're going to be asking you and your students to follow in order to initiate the requested materials being sent to the colleges. So something that's going to be a little bit different from previous years. So if you had somebody who graduated in previous years, we had documents and paperwork that you fill out as a hard copy to submit as part of the request process. With SCORE now, everything is digital and online. So there is the FERPA release authorization, which you and your student needs to sign off on. The student does it from their account, the parent does it from your account. So it's important to make sure that you find that registration email if you haven't registered already, just to get in your SCORE page. Once you're there, under your college section, it's top right-hand corner, you'll see FERPA release authorization. Click on it, check a box, agree, you're done. It's very quick, simple, and we get to see it on our side, which shows that it's been completed. Same for the students. The students are going to complete a waiver of rights, which is saying I waive my rights to view the recommendations that the counselor and teachers are writing for them. Again, very simple, check a box, hit save, it's done. And we're talking to all the students about this yesterday, next week, so to make sure that they know all of these steps, they're not going to miss anything, so it'll go nice and smooth. Counselor recommendation questionnaires. This is something that's helpful for us in order to write our recommendations. They've been sent a document that has links to all of the forms that they need to fill out that are going to still be digital. We want them to share it with us, so it's going to be important to make sure that they fill those out in good detail. There's a parent one as well, which I'll go into a little bit more detail a little bit later. Activity sheet, resume, whichever they have. Again, more information for us about your student that's going to help us write a more complete letter. College list form, this is telling us where to send the transcripts, where to send all the materials. So again, there's going to be a little bit of legwork we want them to do before they get to step 5, which is meeting with us in order to request the materials be sent. In some cases, we have told students that, you know what, you still have steps you got to take. We need you to go and complete these. Let's make an appointment for tomorrow or a day later in the week, because for this to run smoothly, we need to have all this in line and set up the right way to make sure that everything goes out in a timely fashion, and SCORE is designed to be set up a certain way. We want to make sure we follow those steps correctly. So in order to make sure that everything runs smoothly, we really want them to nail down these first 4 steps before they have an appointment with us for step 5. So when they come in to see us, so once all these steps are done, we ask for a 4-week turnaround, just in order to give us time to collect the information, get it all the right way, look through the questionnaires, maybe have some follow-up conversations if needed, which is then going to give us an opportunity to start to send out the transcripts, send out the school profile, send out any kind of documentation the colleges are going to need. And we're doing this for over 400 students, so we want to make sure that we have a good window of time to receive, process, send, and that way it gets there in a timely manner. So you can see the deadlines that we have posted up here, so they can mark on their calendars when they want to, if they're pushing for one of those earlier submissions, these are the dates that they can come in to see us. It doesn't just, it's not set in stone. It has to be on September 22nd if they have an October 15th deadline or November 1st deadline or anything like that. But it's a good kind of time frame to kind of have them follow. So we want to make sure that if they want to put that in their planner, if they want to put that on their calendar, or they want to talk to us about, is everything set up the right way? Does this all look good? What do I still have to do before they have these meetings? They can definitely come in and see us, which I've already had some conversations with my seniors about this. So I know they're thinking about it. I'm sure you're thinking about it as well. But this is a good kind of timeline to follow, and it's going to help us just do our job more efficiently. For counselor recommendations, I know I mentioned the questionnaire. There's a parent version, there's a student version. The ones I've received already, the ones I've received in the past, they're always really great information, great insight, recapping wonderful experiences you've had with your students. Students sharing things to me that I didn't know because, we haven't kind of, dug in deep, with some of these conversations, and, I'm learning some really nice, wonderful things that show their experiences, what they've learned in life, character traits, or just things that maybe they've had to overcome, within their 4 years, which really helps us as counselors write the most comprehensive letters as we can. That's going to help an admissions officer who has no idea who they are get a really good sense of who they're reviewing and, if they're a good fit for their community and college. So, we love a lot of information in these questionnaires. As counselors, we have great experience in making sure that we can pick out the information that's going to be most helpful for the admissions review. So, definitely if you haven't done these already, this is nice, little things to do like on the weekend. But it's a Google Doc. You can email it to us. You can share it with us. So that way we have it when it's time to start writing the letters. But again, if you have any questions about this, we're here to answer those as best we can. The resume, the activity list, probably the simplest thing to do is if your student is using the Common App, there's an activity section on the Common App. They could just do a print PDF of that and share that with us. So that's going to be, clubs, sports, part-time jobs, family responsibilities, something that just kind of gives us a really good sense of outside of the classroom, this is what's still going on with the students. So again, we see what they've been doing in the classroom the last 4 years, what have they been doing outside the building, the last 4 years. So that's probably the simplest way to get us that information. If they have a resume already because they feel the activity list couldn't capture everything, but I have a resume that does, send it along. That'd be fantastic as well. For teacher recommendations, we create a teacher recommendation questionnaire that students can use for teachers, so similar to the one that we get, but now this is more focused on your students' experience in their classroom. So they took Introduction to Psychology last year. What did they like? What was their takeaways? What was a good experience they had? What did they learn? Is this something that maybe you want to pursue in college? So teachers get that information, and based on their classroom observations, the experiences they've had with your student, and that questionnaire, they write a fantastic letter. Okay. Some teachers have their own form, so it's, if your student hasn't asked already, what is it that I need to get you, that's something they should definitely do a follow-up with their teachers who are willing to do their letters. Because again, they fill out the form, they hand it off, and they trust that it's going to be sent out to the colleges by the deadline. Some teachers write tons of letters, like counselors, and they're still teaching 4 or 5 classes. So you got to help your students just be calm and patient with this. If they have done everything they can on their part to give the teachers what they need to write the letters, now they just got to trust that the teachers are going to get that out by the deadline, and they do. It just like with us, there's a lot that goes on during the day. It's not always a quick turnaround, so it's just, these are the pieces that we handle, the students handle school, family, college applications, submissions of their application and test scores, if those are going, and then it all just meets in the middle, okay? Oh, thank you notes. Teachers always like thank you notes. We like that students write some thank you notes to teachers as well, just because it is extra on top of everything they're doing, and I think it's something that's really nice just to kind of acknowledge. And once your students maybe know where they're going, it's always a nice follow-up as well to say, oh, hey, I committed to X university or college, or these are my plans. And because they're invested in your students, they're probably some of their biggest cheerleaders that they have, so they want to make sure that they're happy, they're excited. So it's nice to be able to share that experience with the teachers as well. For optional supplemental recommendations, so this could be something that a person that's outside of Staples, a club advisor, a boss, maybe a summer experience, a professor says, oh, I want to write a letter for you. That's totally fine if they want to do that. It's always good practice to double check with the colleges, whether it be on their websites or within the application, do they want to receive these additional letters of recommendation? Because some colleges will gladly take them. Other ones say thanks but no thanks. We already have enough information based on what we're asking for you. We can help your students find out, within the applications who asks for this, who doesn't ask for it, or is this an appropriate letter to send along? Does it share new information that's going to be different from what your teachers and what we're going to say? If it's just the same information, just said by a different person, it might get a little redundant, so it may not be helpful within the application review. So if they have questions about that, we're happy to answer those, but it's one that comes up a lot, but again, it's a little trickier because it's not as of a streamlined process that we follow through SCORE and through our practices that we have at Staples. But we can help point your students in the right direction if this is something they want to maybe follow through on. And then, I think this is fine, yes. So additional transcript requests. So after they make their initial appointment with us 4 weeks prior to their first deadline, some students feel, I want to send out some more applications. I want to send it to this new list of schools. So we have a college list form, which I mentioned earlier, that in their initial meeting with us, it's going to tell us, here's my early schools. These are my November 1st, my October 15th, maybe my December 1st schools. That's kind of what we're expecting in that initial meeting is with those schools that have those earlier deadlines. For the additional requests, it's typically the Januaries, the Februaries, regular decision. So if they want to send out more transcripts with more school materials, they can come in, during the lunch waves, they see Mrs. Fugit, who I know Mr. Plunkett mentioned earlier, our transcript registrar. She's fantastic at this, she's been doing it for years. We only need, because everything's already going to be in the system, the letters, the transcripts, profile, all that stuff, she only needs about a week to process those requests. And a week might seem like a lot of time still, but you don't see the lines of kids that come in making those additional requests on those key dates. So it's her trying to get in as many kids as she can. Once she gets the paperwork, once she gets a request, she asks a couple follow-up questions. She's now sending hundreds of materials out to all the colleges. So we still ask for a week for that, just to make sure she has all the time that she needs to process that information. But again, if they have questions about this, it's definitely important to make sure that they see us. This is one that I think we get hung up on a lot because we ask for a new college list form. We don't want to see the original one that they gave us for the initial request. It's a new form with new schools that weren't on there before. We don't want your students to add new colleges to an old list. We want it to be its own list. So it's important to make sure that you kind of have two separate ones when they do the submissions, because it helps us, I think, kind of see things more clearly. It helps us kind of separate it out a little bit more. And also it helps your student, I think, kind of manage the numbers better as well, because if maybe they had 4 or 5 in the initial request, and then they had maybe another 4 or 5 in the additional request later in the winter time, they can kind of break it up, where they can kind of focus on those 4 or 5 schools during that time versus focusing on 10 schools at once. In 10's a manageable number. We have numbers even higher than that, which it's very easy to get things from a student's perspective lost in the shuffle. Who needs what, when, who has this supplement? It's a lot to process at once, so to be able to kind of separate it out, I think it's very helpful for them to manage the process. But again, we're always here to help answer any questions that they or you have, so if anything comes up, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Roy Colston, one of the school counselors. Thank you for coming out. I'm going to start with application types. So there's going to be 3 main types of applications that students will encounter when they apply to schools. Every school has their way of requiring what applications. Some will have multiple options for students. So really, if a school offers multiple ways to apply, it doesn't matter. There's no preference on the college's side, so whatever makes most sense for the student. For example, some students might have the majority of their school's Common App or all their school's Common App, and they just go with that application. So starting with the Common App, this is probably the most common way students will apply that we see. So the idea of the Common App is that they're filling out one main application, they're going to do one main essay, and any colleges or universities that accept that form of application, they can use that. So it really helps in the process. Just a little note that there are a lot of schools that will require questions and supplements in the Common App that are school specific. So the main parts is going to be the same, but then they're going to want to take time to look at the questions and any supplemental essays that the college or university requires. And again, staying organized in this process is always good. For students to start making a note of what their colleges require is good practice. And we have some organizational spreadsheets that they can use in their Schoology account. So a lot of them I know have probably already started this, but just to make a note. Last year too, in the spring, school counselors and English teachers paired up to do a Common App and essay introduction workshop. So the Common App should not be new to students. We had them create an account, which is nice, so they should already have a login, created an account, and we did some activities where we introduced them to all the Common App essay prompts, did some brainstorming activities, and I think they found that helpful. So I don't know if any started to write their essays right away after that, but at least they had an introduction, got them started. So they should be familiar with that. And then also something that's really helpful. So when we did those introductory workshops, we had them create a college folder in their Google Drive. Hopefully they have that. And then also they have a Schoology class that's called the Class of 2024. And in that has a lot of tips for completing a lot of different tips. One of them is a Common App guide. So we have tips for completing the Common App that really goes through all the frequently asked questions as they go through the application. We just updated with the Class of 2024 total number of students is 418, so that was a question we got. That's now updated in the form, but if they follow that tips guide, it really helps them. And we have multiple guides that we have on their Schoology account, so for the UCAS schools, etc. So you'll see those, the students should be familiar with that. Another method is going to be applying with SCORE. So we have SCORE has a feature that students can fill out information. Any colleges or universities that accept Apply with SCORE, they can use that method for applying. And again, it's very similar to the Common App in that the information that they put in is going to only be needed to be put in once and then shared with any of the schools that accept that application. And then there's going to be school-specific applications. This is going to depend if they're applying to a military, academy, UC schools, UCAS schools, if there's some students applying internationally. So we have guides, again, on our website for completing those. And just students are going to have to follow the directions for those applications and a lot of the information that they've prepared for the other application types they can use. So in summary, just really have them look at what are the application types that their colleges and universities take and just kind of make a path that makes most sense to them. In the process of applying, some students will have to fill out a SAR, or a self-reported academic record. We're seeing this increase in recent years. So what that is students will have to input their information from grades 9 through 11 and in-progress courses for grade 12. So they will have, usually when they apply to a school, they'll get notified that they have to complete the SAR. They create an online account, and they can use the transcript that they received September 1st to input all their information. They put it in electronically, and colleges and universities use this to to have an electronic form of their information. Really can help the speed up the process. So just know that that might be something that they might have to fill out, and we have a guide for filling out the SCAR. So again, on their Schoology page, there's step-by-step from some of the frequently asked questions and filling that out. And they can always, in this process, again, they could always come to see us if they have any questions or have any trouble. Interviews, so just making a note, if a college or university does require or offer an interview, it's always in the student's best interest to take them up on that offer. Just important to make a note of that, and it's a really good opportunity, sort of like the college essay, really being able to personalize the process and give them an opportunity to share what made their passions, their interests. So make a note of that, and that can be a variety of ways that they conduct interviews. It could be alumni meeting at a Starbucks. It could be virtual. It could be on a campus. So just make a note of that, because some colleges and universities just do not offer any interviews. And we do have some tips also in our college and career planning guide on interviews, and they can meet with their counselor as well. The essay, again, most colleges and universities are going to require an essay. The Common App essay is 650 words or less, so that is pretty typical. In the Common App essay, we went through the prompts. There's 7 prompts, but one of those prompts is just a topic of your choice. So they really have a lot of things they could write on, but it's a great opportunity to give voice to the the numbers and the activities that they participate in. So they're going to want to do a great job with the essay and take time with that. Again, we started them last spring on getting going with the essay. A lot of them I know have already completed or are in the process of completing it. If they haven't started, we got to push a little, get going on that. We did have a summer workshop. Hopefully some students were able to take advantage of that. We collaborated with the College Essay Guide. And then upcoming, we are going to collaborate again with the College Essay Guide. Linda Fairchild Hawks is going to give a presentation. It's going to be virtual, and that's going to be on the supplemental essays. So look out for that, and if students are still completing their supplemental essays, that would be a great opportunity. And again, I like to, in recent years, I've been mentioning this to students, the supplemental essays I think are very important. They hold a lot of weight, so just I try and remind students of this. I think they've completed typically their essay at this point, or when they get to the supplementals, they're like sort of getting a little tapped out with writing essays and answering questions, but just keep going, because they sometimes even have more weight in the process. There could be a variety of questions that are asked. It can, they can be very creative, the colleges, and what they ask, and sometimes it's just a why us, 250 words or less, 150 words or less. So it can vary, but they want to give good time and consideration to that. And again, another way to stand out and share and have colleges get a better sense of this person who's applying and how they would fit. Standardized tests. Again, a lot of schools, you've probably heard test optional has been the way. A lot of are going test optional. Some are adding back tests. It's a mix, but I would say the majority of schools are test optional. Just take a look to see if they can talk to us as well if it makes sense to submit test scores or not. There are some fall dates that can still work. If they're signed up for October. But if they're doing early, November is kind of pushing it. So again, just checking with each school what tests will they still accept in the process is important. And just a little note too, when they do, if they are going to submit test scores, a lot of colleges will say you can self-report your test scores, say on the Common App. That can be an option, and then some will say their policy is if you self-record on the Common App, you don't need to send us official scores at this point. If you enroll at the university, then we're going to ask you to send official scores from ACT or SAT. But there are some schools that in the process of applying, if you're going to be submitting test scores, they want the official scores sent to them. So students would have to log into their account and pay the fee to send the scores to the colleges. So just make a note of that. And then we have fairtest.org is also a website. For years it's been a resource to just go to and see which schools are test optional, so if you want to take a look to see. And then I would say just as a rule, just maybe 50%, we say sometimes looking at the average test scores at a school, if your test scores are above the 50% mark, you might want to consider sending. If not, maybe you don't send the tests. And sometimes that's also a balance of the GPA and where you kind of, the correlation with the GPA and test scores. So again, feel free to have your son or daughter meet with us or talk to us about that if they're debating. And then also just real quick, AP scores. They can self-report AP scores on the Common App as well. Usually 4s or 5s. If they're proud of their scores, they can send those. Follow-up protocol. So, all right. So there's a lot of moving parts, but feel free. I want to rest assured it all gets there. It all works out. So. Just like Mr. Plunkett had mentioned, sometimes it takes a little time, for the things to be, for the materials to get to a school, for the school to download. So it can take 2 to 4 weeks. Just be aware of that. But as a student applies to a school, typical scenario is they apply to a college or university. Thank you for applying is an email they'll get. Now you can set up your application portal account. So the application portal account is really important. Students will set that up. There's They'll be able to track the application materials in the application portal, what's been received, what's still outstanding. Of course, give some time to just have them keep checking. And if there is something that's, not, let us know. But typically, that's sort of the process. And also, they may get an email to complete certain forms. They may say, hey, now that you've applied, you need to complete the self-reported academic record. So really important, that's the student's responsibility to keep checking those application portals. Financial aid. So just coming up soon, or October 3rd at the Westport Library, Julie Savino is going to be doing our financial aid night. She's done these for years. She's great. So she's going to really go over the sources and types of financial aid, the application process, determining eligibility, and useful tips and tools. If you are going to be applying for need-based financial aid, the FAFSA is going to be required by all colleges. She'll go over that. And then she will also, and that's going to be available around December. And then also the CSS profile is a institutional financial aid form required by some private universities. So again, look out for those. That's going to be in the steps and directions for each school, but Ms. Savino will go over that. And I would say at this point too, have a good, honest conversation about the cost of college. It is increasingly, the numbers are staggering to me when I see, how much they've increased. I remember when schools started to be $50,000 a year, and I thought, oh my God, and now they're 80. So, have that conversation with your son or daughter to say, what is really affordable? What makes sense? It's always good to have some financial safety colleges on your list. Should you not get aid at some of these private universities, and you're paying full price, some of those financial safeties are nice to have, on your list. So have those conversations up front, so hearts don't get broken when they get into their top school that didn't give them any money. And net price calculators are good. They're on all the websites. You guys can put those in and get some numbers. Scholarships, real quick. Largest number of scholarships that students are going to receive is probably going to come from the universities. That's where we see the biggest numbers. So look to see when you're applying to each college and university, what scholarships are offered. Another important thing to remember or to look out for is some scholarships, when students are applying to the college or university, the scholarship deadlines are ahead of some of the application deadlines if they're doing regular. So look to see when is the application of the scholarship deadlines for each school and make a note of that. Look out for employer, community organizations you might be, members of. Every little bit helps. Those are usually not the largest amounts. We will also have Staples tuition grants and other local scholarships. Information will be coming. That's more second semester. Ms. Ziegler will be putting out information. You'll be getting emails on that. But keep that in mind. And then always, we'll have a scholarship workshop. Ms. Ziegler is always available in the College and Career Center as well. So utilize us. It's definitely helpful too to let your counselor know if there is a need for financial aid, just so we're kind of aware as well. And then there is some links on our website about scholarships, tuition grants, national scholarships, and search engines. Some of the more popular ones. But again, that doesn't seem to be a large number of students getting. But something. Again, if students would like to try and get as much as they can. There's links there. So, all right. Now I'm going to turn it over to Tom Brown. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Tom Brown. There's a lot of information you just got. We also gave that to your students. So I was thinking about this presentation this morning when I was getting ready. 5:30 this morning, I was making my son's lunch. He's 4. And in the room around the corner, I heard bumping and thumping. I know he's doing cannonballs on the couch. And you hear a loud thunk and he falls off and you run in out of frustration. Why would you do that? I've told you 100 times not to jump on the couch. And I have to stop myself because he's 4. That's why he does it. You're coming into a process right now that requires a huge amount of decision making, organization, depth of thought, and you're doing it with 16, 17-year-old kids. They're coming out of high school, and we talk to them in all the classes they take at Staples, all that we've given them over the last 3.5 years. They seem like they know a lot of things, and they do. But when it comes to this, really as parents, we need, and the adults and the counselors, we need to help them with the parts that they don't know, even though they think they do, and they're going to tell us that they do, because they're 17. They really just aren't there yet. So what can you do in this process? You can be that voice of reason. You can help them with the decisions they make, not make them for them. They're 2 different things. When it comes to November 5th, and they finished a couple early actions, and they talk to their friends, and they hear about admissions, and they start freaking out and saying, I need to apply to 10 more schools just to be sure. That's when you say, no, you don't. We talked about this, and we made some really good choices that are right for you. You're not going to college with your friends. You're going to college so that you can learn and grow and become something that you want to be someday. Organization is a wonderful thing for parents to do. Be a clerical, be a secretary for your students, be their administrative assistant. That's what they really need. They need someone to help them keep track of their deadlines. This college process is not the only thing they have. I'm sure you're aware. Every time I get the resumes when I work on the recommendation letters, I look at it and I'm just like, I don't even understand. There's some students where I've literally done the math to try to figure out the hours in a week that could possibly facilitate things that are on their resume. So this is on top of everything that they've been doing already, on top of the classes they're taking as a senior. And somewhere in there, we tell them, have a great time, have some fun with your friends. And they look at you like you're nuts, right? So that's where we can be helpful, is to help them be on track so that, yes, they should still be responsible, but they don't have to be solely accountable for every single deadline and every single piece of the puzzle. The counselor questionnaire is definitely the most straightforward thing you can do. That helps us. Can't tell you how many times I've talked to students, I thought I knew them well, but I never asked the right question. So there's something in their life that apparently was a really big thing going on, but they never told me because I didn't ask them specifically about it. So that's where you guys come and help. You know things that are significant that 17-year-olds don't think are that big of a deal. And that's where that questionnaire can be super helpful to make sure we're hitting all those points. And encourage them to come see us. Some people in this district, town, area love to use outside consultants. That's great, that's fine. We have no problem with that. But your students still need to come see us. We are the ones ultimately writing the letters. We are the ones ultimately responsible for sending materials. And we spend a lot of time with your kids. We really like them. And we want to help them. We want to be part of it. So we can be a team. It's not that it's one or the other. And if you don't have a consultant, come see us too. We're here to help with that as well. We can do it all. We're happy to do so. All right. You have a lot of resources here. Staples High School, throughout their education, I hope you have felt that and seen the amazing resources. With the college admissions process, it's no different. You have all the counselors that are on the staff. Yes, you have one assigned to you, but we work with each other constantly, helping each other with lists, helping each other with questions, troubleshooting, problem solving, the whole deal. There's a myriad of information on our website. I helped curate it. I know it's there. It's a ton of stuff. Everything from the college planning guide to the videos from past presentations, a training I did on SCORE past February, I think it was, is on there. Everything we put together, we keep and we put on this website so that everyone has access to it, the Staples High School Counseling website. There's a lot of emails that come out. The schools will send a lot of emails. Most of those are advertising, but some of them are really important. So that's another part, helping your student and also being aware for yourself. Anytime you see something come from Mr. Plunkett or from SHS Counseling or from your student's counselor, that's a definite read. We don't send things unnecessarily. There is information in every one of those emails that's relevant in that moment and important to know about. And the last one, College and Career Center. Ms. Ziegler, I think she came in or not, but anyway, she's somebody that I hope your students will get to know this year as well. She's a wonderful resource. She'll help with the college visits, but she also herself has spent a lot of time getting to know colleges in the process and just had some kids go through it. So she really also has a lot of great information if your students are looking for someone else to touch base with. So with that, know you're not alone. That's the biggest thing. You all got each other here, but you also have us at the school to help you out. So if you need help, reach out to your counselor, give us a call, send in your student. We'll read essays, we'll go through the Common App, whatever it is that we can help with, we're here to do that. Thank you all for being here today. I hope this was helpful. Let's make it a wonderful senior year, and everyone get some great plans for the future. Thank you so much.